Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Pod and the Pendulum, the horror movie podcast covering all of the franchises, one movie and one episode at a time. As always, I'm your host, Mike Snoonian, and sitting beside me at the VHS rental counter tonight, I've got two fantastic co-hosts. Up first, the author of The Millennial Nasties, coming out in just over a month. I think we're at like 6 weeks.
Oh, God.
6 weeks
Oh, no.
until Millennial Nasties comes out. Miss Ari Hellraiser. Ari, how are we?
Doing so good. I'm ready to be kind and rewind.
Excellent, excellent. And also joining us tonight, the co-host of the Spectre Cinema Club, Mr. Devaughn, Taylor Devaughn. How are we doing?
Hello. And if you don't rewind it, you are getting the late fees. I'm not one of those employees that give, I'm going to waive it for you. Nope. If you don't rewind, I'm giving it to you because that's a sin. And I like the analogy of I think in general, the podcast is kind of like a video rental store. It's like, we got the different hosts. It's like who's clocked in for the night for this shift when you go in. And you'll get different recommendations based on who's on. So I like that.
We all had our favorite
picks.
Yeah, like I had my favorite video rental store guy. I don't remember his name, but like when he was working, I was like, oh yeah, he's going to give me the good recommendations.
Did you ever get there's that Seinfeld episode where like Elaine gets a crush on the video store worker just based on their picks? Like, did you ever have like a crush on your local video store clerk or record store clerk? Like, you would go in and they would put up like their picks for the week and you'd be like, we have the same taste in music, we should get married. Or
yes,
am I the only weirdo that did that?
No, that was the original dating app, right? Was like
I mean, yeah. I mean, I've had it with bartenders, or, my favorite bartender, or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Or I mean, if I'm gonna translate it into current times, like I dated this gal, and like the big part of us like bonding was like watching movies, and like, but like specifically, she was the first gal that I dated that had her own letterbox, and I was like, oh. Okay, so so it's like we like she like made like a little tag for like all the movies we watched together, so we got like a little list going and everything, and so it was like very much like falling for somebody via their movie taste.
That is like super cute. That is like definitely a meet cute for the 2020s. That is fantastic.
We're not dating now, but we still hang out and we still go and see movies. So
there you go.
So it's all good.
Excellent. Well, we are going to not necessarily rank movies today. We typically, like at the end of a big franchise, we'll do some rankings. And we thought, Devaughn has done that with Spectre Cinema Club, and maybe we'll post like a link in our show notes of that. So what Devaughn actually did along with Garrett and I believe with Matt Donato from Certified Forgotten in IGN and Bloody Disgusting and many other sites, they ranked all of the segments like from top to bottom. So they ranked close to 40 VHS segments, like from least favorite to most favorite. So we'll post a link in our notes. You can hear Devaughn's thoughts on all of the segments. But this kind of came up when Devaughn and I were talking about VHS 85, like the idea of like mixing things up a little bit. So we're like, why not do something a little different? And what if we took all of the segments and we created our own VHS kind of remixes, like centered on like certain themes that we would like. We could pick, and it kind of becomes a ranking because I think we're going to end up picking segments we like, unless one of you are like, VHS, the trash, and it's like my least favorite segments. Yeah,
that's just viral. We're all set. That's done.
I have 2 viral shorts.
Oh shoot! Okay,
interesting.
And I have 2, and they're my favorites, but they fit the themes. So
okay.
But you're not.
I have a guess. I have a guess at one of your themes, Mike. Should I save it or should I say it?
Let's save it.
Okay.
And when I am ready to unleash it, I'll ask you to guess it. What should you get? And tell you what, if you guess the theme, I will send you a 4K digital code to either Fright Night or the Batman.
Is this for the listeners or for me?
No, for you.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
But if you get it wrong,
uh-oh,
you have to like eat a tablespoon of hot sauce. I don't know. You don't have to do that.
I'm not going to do that. That is
not
unenforceable.
That is completely unenforceable. All right. So
if I get it
Ari.
wrong, I can sing all the states in alphabetical order at the end of an episode.
And that will become our new outro theme going
Oh, God,
forward.
no.
Excellent. All right.
What a mess.
I will say I used different music for the last Patreon show. Like I used the Registrator's Pogo Machine for our Long Legs intro, because why do you pick Pogo Machine? It's because you need long legs to really pogo well. And it's a great garage punk song from a fantastic Japanese garage punk band from the 90s. Anyway, Ari, do you want to kick things off here? And what we'll do is like you'll say your theme,
Okay.
and then maybe like what the segments are in it, and then we'll like go a little bit through each segment, and there'll be some overlap, and we'll, we might be a little repetitive, but that's totally okay. Who cares? We're just having fun here.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So my theme is about betrayal and revenge.
Oh, and
Super
what would
shocking.
you call this? VHS?
Oh, I didn't think about that.
VHS Betrayal.
Sure. VHS Betrayal. The wraparound is going to be Total Copy from 85, because it was hard to pick a wraparound that fit this theme that, I thought worked. And I felt like this one was the closest comparison because I forget the name of the copy.
Toby?
It's
I think
keep
it's
talking.
Toby.
I got it.
Yeah. I feel like the way he turns on people in the end was the closest. So that's correct.
Rory's Revenge.
Yes. Maybe it'll be VHS Rory's Revenge.
What did you think of the aerobics at the end of it? Because I was a fan, Devaughn not so much.
I don't remember.
Okay,
quite honestly. I haven't watched it in a while.
Okay. So your wraparound is Total Copy.
Yes.
And which segments are going in here?
The sick thing that happened to Emily when she was younger.
Great one.
Second honeymoon. Suicide bid. And Ozzy's dungeon.
Yeah. As we talked on that episode, Ozzy's Dungeon is my all-time favorite one, and I couldn't get it into my mixtape. I have it on my alternate. I had made two for just in case, but I couldn't get him on my main one, so I'm glad that he's represented on yours.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I love it. I really enjoyed that conversation you guys had listening to that, because I really love that one too.
It's really good. It is really good. It's one where I kind of wish it was either they did all game show or it was a feature, but it's really good. But where would you start? What segment is starting your movie off?
Yeah, so I read them in the order I want them to go. I want to start with the sick thing that happened to Emily when she was younger, because I think of the ones I've listed, it's probably the least, like I kind of went from least, it's hard to say extreme, right? Because it's a horrible thing that happens to Emily. But in terms of like what you see on screen, they get more and more extreme. And with Emily, it's very like low key, under the surface, something that's been brewing her whole life that people are doing to her in a betrayal. But it's easing us into the rest of the segments. And so then I put Second Honeymoon, because I thought that's another one where there's more betrayal. There's a little bit more on screen. It has like that one and Emily both have a nice twist that I like. And it's just really creepy with the masks. So I feel like that one ramps up the intensity a little bit more. Then
the first two almost play out like Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're both relationship based as well, and I think the kind of revenge and betrayal, because you're betraying somebody's trust, and like, so in a relationship, I think that definitely hits because I didn't get to talk about VHS 1, but I think the sick thing that happened to Emily when she was younger is one of the more underrated shorts of the entire series. I think it's very sinister and very much like that betrayal of trust is very upsetting in that one. Like, I don't think that one gets as enough credit as it should.
I
It might
agree.
have the most sinister twist of any of them. Like the reveal
Hmm.
in that one when the boyfriend like opens the door after
He's
you've
just
been led.
there. He's just
Yeah,
like next door. Like,
you've been led
oh.
to believe like he's been away at university in many states away for all
Hmm.
this time. Um,
Yeah.
that is really well done and really shocking, which is a hard thing to do in a short movie.
Yeah, and it's done really well. And it's between that and 1031 for my favorites from the first one.
Mhm.
But I love the sick thing that happened to Emily.
Yeah.
I think it hits, yeah. So after second honeymoon, I put suicide bid. And you guys talked about how mean this one is, and that's true. Um, but I thought here now we're getting into not only betrayal but revenge because she gets revenge at the end of that one. Um, and in terms of stuff happening on screen, I feel like Ozzy ramps it up after that, but here it's really well placed between Second Honeymoon and Ozzy. And then Ozzy, we get to end on a fun note, but also like some really, really nasty stuff happens. And so we kind of start with like quiet betrayal of trust and end with like a man digging in shit. So,
Where do you think the betrayal happens in Ozzy's dungeon?
I think they're betraying everyone they bring on the show with their ruse. Like, I think that is like they're just kind of tricking everybody.
Got it. Okay. So like because like the game master is kind of kept in the dark, like he doesn't know
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. The kids are placed in a situation where no one can really ever win these games, and
Mm-hmm.
then when you are granted the wish, it ends up being like super destructive at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a
Suicide
big scale betrayal.
Yeah. Suicide Bid is one that I kind of came around a bit on like rewatching these movies for the show. Like it's one I kind of glossed over the first time I watched it, but like getting to rewatch it for these episodes, it's actually a pretty effective segment in
Mhm.
it plays out a lot like a Tales from the Crypt episode, right down to the
Mm,
effects of it feel like very much like puppetry and like practical VFX. And it feels very much like a kind of like EC Comics, like cautionary or morality tale. Like these young women are betraying this girl who they I don't think they ever have any intention of letting her into the
no.
sorority to begin with. And I think I said this when we recorded, like one of my favorite moments is when all of the young women run off and the camera is still set up and you can start to
Hmm.
watch the mud slide into the pit and you're like, oh, that's really bad. Like that's a
Like, oh,
Yeah.
she's fucked in that way. And like, yeah, we talked about how in VHS 99 a lot of the segments have this kind of through line about humiliation
Hmm.
to some degree. And I think the betrayal, yeah, goes into that because of, again, they, what they're able to manipulate her into doing, because she is that desperate for friendship. Is again, that's just fucking mean as shit. Like,
It is.
like it
Yeah.
really is, and it's upsetting. So I think that fits in. And again, that's another one of my like favorites of the whole series.
Yeah. Those are
Maybe
all
I just
killer
made
choices.
Devon's favorite mixtape, is what I
Pretty much,
secretly
you
did.
took a good chunk of some of my faves.
Those are, and I think they're going to be some overlap here. I think because with any, if like we were doing Creep Show, there are only 3 Creep Show movies, and I don't think anyone's choosing anything from Creep Show 3. You could probably choose some of the segments from the television show, which the second season of like the Creep Show television series on Shudder is aces. Like it's probably better. It's not quite as good as Romero's first movie, but it's close. It's really, really close. It's really good.
Yeah,
But
but you're not a Romero guy.
true, but I love Creep Show. Like I absolutely adore Creep Show. It's one of my favorites. But I just think the second season is that good. Like the second season is really excellent. It's just that everything before and after it runs the gamut from like it's okay to like it's pretty good. The second season is like banger after banger. So like, but with Creepshow, you can't make like 5 or 6 different movies out of all the segments if you mix them up. Or the VHS, you can. There's a lot of variety there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think part of it is you have so many different filmmakers and so many different voices, which leads to it. Devaughn, why don't you give us one of yours? What is one of your topics? You call it VHS what?
Yeah, so I mean, for my main one, me and Ari don't have a single segment in common, so actually isn't any overlap for ours. My title is already going to hint at a liberty that I took with making my mixtape because
Okay.
would it be me if I didn't like kind of cheat a little bit? So I have VHS Bigfoot and Other Monsters is the name of it. So I'm thinking
Okay.
of like what would be on the spine of the VHS, like on like the little
Yeah.
tape label. We talked many times throughout the series that most of the wraparounds they suck. There's not too many of them that are very good. We have a couple of decent ones, but none that are really all that great. I did a little thing with a wraparound for my other idea that we might talk later, but so for this one, I said, you know what? If I'm re-editing this, I'm putting this tape together. Hey, I'm a filmmaker myself. I'm gonna do the wraparound myself. So
Yeah.
I came up with an original wraparound to come up
Wow.
with. Just a light idea of it. Details are still pretty vague. So my framing device is a teenager making videos. They are obsessed with monsters and folklore and cryptids, and they are trying to get footage of Bigfoot as a teen like monster hunter type person. And so that is kind of the like ill interstitials that we'll get is them like asking their older sibling about like, oh, tell me about that one legend again, or like blah blah blah, and like getting their monster knowledge from various places in between. So I went with like a lot of the creature feature leaning segments for this. So I have it
Love it.
opening up. So I have it opening up with Storm Drain,
Mm.
the Chloe Okuno, that is the Hail Ratma one. I
Mm-hmm.
like opening up with a news person, something that might have been on this tape whenever the teen is, taping stuff. Open up with Storm Drain, kind of set the table for this is a more unique, like a small town kind of cryptid situation here. And I think it kind of sets the table. It's a fun one. It's the opener of 94, the one that it's included on. So I think it still fits very nicely as like an opener. And then that would take us into a ride in the park. There would be
Mm-hmm.
like some little interstitial about talking about zombies, like having like a debate, like, oh no, the Romero zombies are better. No, these zombies are better, like whatever. And then we go into a ride in the park. Eduardo Sanchez and Greg Hale. Another one of my favorites. I really like this one upon a rewatch. I kind of forgot how good this is. And it has a kind of mixture of the light fun and kind of zaniness, but then it just has a bunch of gore. And we just talked about how we love the evolution of this one, of it kind of starting
Yeah.
off as a zombie attack, then to a zombie infestation. So these first two are kind of a little bit more on the fun side, a little bit more cheeky, but still lots of gore to like kind of start off with these two.
Excellent. Okay. Love
Yes.
that so far. All hail Ratma. And I think that's a
Hail
great
Grandma.
one to open up on. Like Ratma's, I think one of the more popular segments. Like people wanted more of Ratma. And I think it's like a really clever use of found footage. They even managed, like you could see where it drew some influence from like WNUF, where they have like
Mm-hmm.
the commercial that's done in there by, I think, Steve Kostansky does like a little like the veggie chopper. So they have like
Mm-hmm.
things like that added in, and then you have like the great reveal of Ratma at the end as like a acid spitting, like if Shredder from Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles was real, this is more what he would look like, and it would be horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this. And I love that you decided to do an original framing device. That's so cool.
It was either that or I was going to go with no framing device, like
Yeah.
how 99 does. Like that one just says whatever about it. So it was either going to be none or come up with something else.
Hmm.
So then after that, we have them doing research on like the old classic monsters of the past, which would then take us into Terror by Ryan Prowse, the exploding vampire blood segment from '94.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a really fun take. It's like you really don't know it's a vampire thing until like kind of halfway through. Then it's like, oh, this is kind of what they're doing. And they take some really fun liberties with the vampire lore, kind of stuff that you don't really kind of see in typical vampire movies. So I thought that was like a really fun one, and this kind of starts to shift the tone a little bit. Like, I mean, there is still some dark comedy in here just because of like how stupid these like Proud Boys are or whatever. But at the same time, this one is starting to get a little bit darker, a little bit more sinister. I really like this one. I think it's a very clever usage of vampire lore, as well as this was very kind of topical for when 1994 came out. It was kind of taking the premise of like it being set in this year and putting it in this past context, but then still relating it to like what was kind of going on in 2021 politically.
Hmm.
So I think it's a really good one in that angle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's one I forget about, but I do like that one.
Terror is one of my favorites. I have it in one of mine as well. Because you're right, it like does apply to its time. There's like the standoff at Waco, and then I think we said when we recorded that episode, like it's very reminiscent and draws like specific parallels to like the Oklahoma City bombing with
Hmm.
Timothy McVeigh. And you're right, like it exposes these white supremacist like douchebags as complete knuckleheads and just complete morons that can't get out of their own way, and they end up screwing things up because like they get drunk at a party and unleash holy hell on earth, and that is kind of hysterical. And
Hmm.
then, like the vampire is kind of a weapon of mass destruction was also like a really fascinating
Mm.
detail as well.
Yeah, the whole thing they had to like shoot him and then to like get the blood, but then he's going to come back to life or whatever. So it was like an interesting little thing. And then in my wraparound, this is now when the teen is sneaking out of their house because they're going to go into the woods. They're trying to get some footage. They're trying to they had a tip on trying to get footage of Bigfoot here. Needless to say, they find Bigfoot, get attacked, and you kind of don't really know what happens. The camera kind of shakes around or whatever, cuts to black. The final segment that it will end on is God of Death, Gigi Saul Guerrero. Kind of
Mhm.
to bookend with the news segments between Storm Drain and then this one. So kind of bookending those and bookending the female directors too. Didn't mean to do that actually. But I think God of Death is it's so big in scale and the sense of urgency and this natural
Mhm.
disaster angle, but then kind of loops back into historical mythology and everything. So another corner of monsters here to kind of explore. And I think it's just a really good one to kind of go out on a bang with, like with this earthquake, and then you have the deity at the end that is possessing people and slashing them up, and ends with a good amount of gore as well. And it's just a nice little ending, and then the final little bit at the end of my mixtape is you see footage of the teen from when they were a little kid. Talking about how they're gonna go out and hunt monsters and they're gonna go get them, and this is like old like footage from like when they were a kid, and that's the end of my mixtape.
Oh my God, Devaughn.
Very clever. I like that. I like how there's like a steady progression of
Yeah.
threats as well. You go from like the one being in the storm drain to the multiple zombies to the much more dangerous vamp to like an elder being. So
Yeah.
like a steady, it's almost like you get to the final boss at the end. It's very cool.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's
So
fun.
Ariel, do you want to take a guess as to what the theme of my first tape is?
I'm going to go really out on a limb here, just really not like you at all, Mike. And I'm going to guess fuck them kids.
Not quite.
What?
It is not. You're close. You're close. So
Now I
get
have
that
to eat
That's
a
a
punched
good
off.
guess.
tablespoon of
That's a
hot
good
dog.
guess.
It is like
What is it?
VHS Boys on an Adventure.
Okay.
So we talked a lot about this throughout. So
I should have
it's
guessed
kind
that.
of fuck them kids because of like the end they all come to
Yeah.
through this. So the wraparound segment I used was tape 56 because it's the first wraparound segment from the first VHS because like it's just
It's
it's
like the
basically
hooligans.
yeah, it's like Jackass meets it's like soccer hooligans for lack of a people you wouldn't want to meet. And you're like, why are you people filming crimes? But it's like a bunch of bros that are like filming themselves doing crimes over and over. So it kind of fit the theme. It was the closest one I could find for a wraparound segment that fit the theme. And the first segment I put in here was the Gawkers. Not that it's necessarily a great segment, but it kind of fits the theme of like these horny teen boys that I think Devaughn and you and I talked about them. Like
Mm-hmm.
they are these little, horn dog teen boy assholes that like don't know how to talk to women, don't know how to respect women. They're like filming them without their consent. There's the part where they have like the camera that's in the bag and they have like a hole cut out and they're trying to do like upskirts. And it felt like the late 90s distilled into one segment basically. Like if you took the American Pie movies
Yeah.
and made like a horror segment, like that's what they would basically be. And it is them like getting all horned up and um, getting excited about like filming this woman without her knowledge or consent in her home. And then they realize like, oh, they pissed off a Gorgon and she comes and like fucks them up right quick. And if I have a complaint about this segment, it goes on a bit too long. And then like the denouement of it, it's over a little bit too quick. You could probably do without a little bit of it, but it's definitely like horny teen boys having an adventure. So that fit the segment here. Went from that to Bone Storm from VHS Viral, which again, not a great segment, but it fit the theme
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's fun. Like they're part, and again, it's the kids from the Gawkers, except instead of having them being suburban kids with too much time on their hands, like they're thrashy skate punks. And Ariel, I think you and I talked when we did this one. We're like, when did skateboard kids become strapped? Like,
Yeah.
how do these kids have? Why are these kids have guns?
Like
Hey,
multiple.
if you're going down to Mexico, I mean, I'm coming strapped too. If I'm a teen thrasher like them, and yeah, I like this one actually. Like, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. And if like you don't like if you're not like into the humor, I can see these guys being like super annoying. But once it turns into like an Evil Dead movie, with them against these like people, there's a sense of camaraderie amongst these boys that you don't
Yeah.
really get in Gawkers or some of the other segments where like there's a moment earlier in the segment where homie's like, like if it were a life or death situation, you wouldn't do nothing. Like you would leave me, blah blah blah. And then like later on, he like literally just like shows back up to like blast this like thing. He's like, "See, I told you I'd have your
Yeah.
back." And like there was like
I did like
there's a
that.
wholesomeness
Yeah.
to Bones for me.
There's a wholesomeness of the cultural appropriation and
Well,
youth
Oh,
vandalism. And
not that
but I
part.
know, not that part of it. But you're right. No, you're absolutely right. Like it does have that callback to it, and I do like that they keep referring to the other two guys as like Gas Money Kid and Video Guy, and they're like just like shut the fuck. They hate the guy with the camera so
yeah.
fucking much, and they just like want to end him. So that was Benson and Moorhead, and it's unlike anything they've ever done. And I loved that the fact that like these guys bonded with the kids over like the Gorilla Biscuits and skateboarding. So that kind of has a place in my heart because I love me the Gorilla Biscuits. After that, I had Hobo with a Shotgun by Jason Eisner, which I know is a pretty divisive one. Kids versus Aliens. Actually, it's not called that in it's that's the name of the movie, but I think in VHS two, it's
Slumber Party, Alien, Slumber Party something.
Slumber Party Alien Abduction. Yeah, Slumber
Yeah.
Party
Yes.
Alien Abduction. And then that went on to become a feature called Kids versus Aliens. And the feature is like kind of disappointing. But again, it's like a bunch of goofball suburban kids that are like, let's go out and film our, which is really creepy, our older sister like making out with her boyfriend and like, you know, definitely not saying you should be doing this, but they're like, we just want to like film us goofing off. We want to film us like having it. They have the dog on the skateboard. They're doing all sorts of fun shit. And then aliens show up. And I know like we were pretty divided on this one, like the bwang noise that comes in and out of it
Yeah.
gets a little bit irritating, but I thought it was pretty effective. And I thought like the aliens themselves were like sufficiently terrifying for like a 15 to 20 minute short. There's like the one part where it's under the street lamp and it's like on the when they're on the pier and they don't notice it and it's getting like closer and closer and that's a little bit horrifying. I like that there's never any sort of explanation, like these aliens just show up and they just want to like fuck them kids, they just want to abduct it. Don't like that the dog dies at the end, like that's very very sad, but I thought this one had a lot of promise and it fits the theme. um my last one that I'm ending it with is 103198 from Radio Silence, which is one of my favorite segments.
I
I
love
love
this one.
I love these guys. Like it's way more wholesome than anything else. Like in especially for the first VHS, where so much like
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to give the first VHS like a subtitle, it'd be VHS like sexual assault is cool in the aughts. Like that would
Right.
be like the byline for it. This one like, is every guy in that one is like so shitty. This one, like they're just a bunch of wholesome bros that are out. They just want to go to a Halloween party. They don't know how to get there. I love that the guy is like a security bear for his costume and he goes so hard on it that he has a working camera. um, and that like they're so clueless that when they get to the attic and there's like this exorcism going on, they're like, oh, this must be part
This
of the
is the
party,
party.
even though
Yeah.
we don't recognize anybody here and there's like no one else in the house and they're like cheering. The only caveat to this is I would use the happy ending alternate ending. And I got railed for this in the episode. Nobody agreed with me, but I love the happy ending where the guys get out of the car rather than it getting smashed by the train. And they're still like, oh, that was really weird. Oh, I know where the party is now. Let's go there. What a wild night. They're still like puppy dogs. I mean, that's really the best way to describe them. Like, that's what I would end my first movie on.
You get to pick that. It's your
Yeah,
mixtape.
it's my
Yeah.
mixtape. I like a happy ending. Like,
Yeah.
look, I am all for the happy. Like, you know, if I could end Long Legs, it would be like maybe the Long Legs are the friends we made along the way. Or it would end with
Oh
them
my
like
God.
singing ZZ Top's Legs. Like that would be the end of it. So I don't know. All right, who wants to go next?
Well, I want to say I like your picks. I think like that theme makes sense, and we did talk a lot about boys on an adventure throughout this
Mm-hmm.
whole series, so that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it's a theme I really like. Boys of an
Yeah,
Adventure, like it's like VHS Huck Finn, you know, just like what I
sure.
would. Yeah. So, all right, who has another set? Who has another? I have like two more, and I'll be short on them. But Devaughn, I think you made one more movie.
Yeah, I did. I did have another one. Kind of playing with the structure here a little bit. This one, again, just imagining this being on the shelf of
Mhm.
videos and record things. This is VHS Fun and Games.
Mm.
Is on this. I pretty much playing on the phrase of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. This
Mhm.
is the fuck around and find out kind of addition to this. So I'm kind of doing a thing here where because me and Mike and we also did it on our episode too. People have had issue with Ozzy's Dungeon kind of being a little bit long. It's kind of a few different things. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take Ozzy's Dungeon. I'm gonna break it up into three, and Ozzy's Dungeon's gonna be my framing device.
What?
Oh,
That's
Okay.
so smart.
what a
So
smart idea.
the first part is gonna be the game show portion. That's gonna open the film. That's gonna be the first part. And then after that, I'm going into Dante the Great, which I think I might be the only person that really enjoys this segment. But I don't know. It's really silly. I'm a sucker for magicians, for silly magician shit in movies, and like he's like, oh, I got this magic cape, so I'm gonna become the ultimate magician. I'm gonna film myself doing it. Sure, bud. Yeah, whatever. This can't possibly go wrong, could it? And of course it does. He becomes a total psychopath. And it turns into like some weird chronicle with a magician, and it's also a mockumentary, some type deal
Somehow.
going. It's a wacky. It's very wacky, and I think again, as far as this being fun in games, I think this is a fun lead off.
Yeah.
To it being, this is very silly. Hey, we're having a good time, right? That's kind of how I'm like gonna open the tape.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
It's a fun segment. I think we talked about that when we couldn't figure out like who was filming what during it. Like they take a lot of liberties with the idea of found footage.
I think
But
Toby
it's
from the Paranormal Activity franchise came and filmed and edited that for them.
possibly
I mean, I said, and like, I mean, because you're like, how is he getting it? But like, I mean, they don't show it like they do in Chronicle. But like, I like to think Dante, since he's got all these powers, he's the one floating the cameras around while he's also
Could be.
doing the craziness.
quite possibly.
And then so we would go from Dante the Great into shredding. I think this is another fun one as far as like it goes into like kind of the humiliation, ties into similar stuff from Ozzy's Dungeon. And then this, being under the guise of like, in this band, everyone kind of gangs up on one person. He's always the butt of the jokes. They're always playing pranks on him. All these things. It's all fun and games. And no, we don't hate you. Actually, it's a prank. Like, take it easy. So I think that kind of ties into it, and then it's like then they go down and they start, disrespecting the space of where this tragedy happened, and they fuck around and they find out. They get eaten.
Shredding is one of my favorites. Like I tried to find a space for shredding on mine, so I'm really glad that you included that one. I think when we talked about that one, I mentioned how much I really loved like the mid '90s alt rock like girl band of it all. Like the band Bitch Cat is like super ripped out of like Spin Magazine and New Music Express in like 120 minutes, and like you can see shades of like L7 and early PJ Harvey there. Like, so I really like that's Maggie Levin, right?
Yes.
That one's a lot of fun. I don't think like the effects aren't necessarily great, but you're right. And then I think I even said when we did it, like when I was in a band, we had that guy who we tended to make fun of a lot, even when we were playing shows. And I'm like, yeah, I was a really horrible person back then when I did that. I should not have done that to our poor singer guitar player.
Yeah, so I've always felt empathy for Anker in that one for sure.
Mhm.
After shredding is when I have Ozzy 2, which is the revenge portion with the mom, and putting homeboy through the gauntlet of shit and razor blades and acid and just disgustingness.
Mhm.
This is where things it still has a dark sense of humor to it, but of course it is getting definitely getting darker at this point. And so it would play out that portion up until whenever whenever he reveals that the Ozzy entity actually does exist. So it end there. And then it would go into Suicide Bid,
Okay.
because again, for all the same reasons that Ari had it on hers, this one I think is now it's like, no, this is no longer fun and games anymore. This is like some like serious and dark shit. Under the guise of it again being like, oh, it's just a hazing ritual. Everybody did it. I did it. Oh yeah, blah blah blah. But it's like it's truly much darker, much sinister than that. So I would put that one here. I think kind of has the Evil Dead qualities of shredding too. So I think there's a nice like kind of little handoff there.
Yep.
And then my movie would end with Ozzy 3, which would be them driving and visiting the entity in the cave, and that would be the end of the movie.
Excellent. Did
Oh my
either of
God.
you ever have any hazing rituals that you were put through, like in college or playing sports, like growing up in like high school, like anything?
I mean, definitely for sports, but it wasn't like, but it was never anything weird. It was
Hmm.
it was like, oh, if you have your birthday during football practice, then it's like, okay, you get in this like kind of like a little gauntlet situation, where it's like everybody would like kind of be in a circle, and you're like trying to run with the ball outside of the circle. It's a fun thing though, but it's like kind of like oh, it's your birthday, so like it's your turn to do it for this, like,
Got
so,
it.
something like that, or other just like, yeah, kind of random like weird things that we would do, but nothing crazy like this. And I mean, you heard me on that episode. I think fraternities and sororities are fucking just cults in
Hmm.
college. So yeah, none of that.
I don't think I ever had anything like that, but I never played any sports. I think maybe the closest I ever got to like a hazing thing was when I was in second grade. My mom let me do cheerleading, and I didn't really want to do it, but all my friends were doing it. And all my friends could like spin their ponytails in like a helicopter, and I couldn't do it. And so then they picked on me. But that's not really hazing, even. That's just like
Bullying.
old bullshit.
Yeah,
So
just good
no, I
old
don't think
fashioned
I have.
bullying.
Yeah. And I was like, whatever, who cares about ponytails? This is stupid. So it didn't like I can't think of a single thing. I guess maybe I've just been really lucky.
I used to have a soccer coach when I was in high school, and he had half a thumb, and he used to like cram his thumb into like your like right into the solar plexus, and he would call me polio because like I had a hard time running because I had like my archers fell,
What the
and it was like
fuck?
freshman year, and I was like a
Of
new
high
school.
school?
Yes. And it was not like the public high school where I knew everyone. Like I was going to a different school. Kids were coming from all different towns and I didn't know anyone. And it was like before school even started because like soccer tryouts are like 2 weeks before or a week before school would start. And he was like, you look like you have polio. I'm going to call you polio. And it would just jam his like
Jesus.
thumb into your chest. So
Mike, that's
that
really
was
fucked up.
That's it was
super fucked up.
that's super weird. Ari's face reacting to that story from Mike is like me when I watch Dazed and Confused, and
Yeah.
I'm like, why is this
Mm.
paddling so normal? I was like, this is very weird. That's the similar reaction I just witnessed.
I mean, I started high school in 1989, so that might
Mm.
explain some of it.
Yeah.
Like that would have been like the freshman year of high school for me. So it was like
It was a different
gen-
time.
generally accepted that adults could be complete fucking assholes to kids and get away with it. And it was like, yep, you just have to eat a big bag of shit. That's just the way it's going to be. So now that I've
Yeah.
shared a little bit of my childhood trauma, it might explain a little bit of like why I am the way I am. Let's talk about. I have two more, and I'll run through them pretty quick because some of them there are some overlap. I have VHS. The Gods Must Be Crazy, and it deals with kind of like beings that are like larger than life and godlike figures. So I don't have a wraparound on this one. So we have Storm Drain to kick things off. You know,
Mhm.
because all hail Ratma, the king of the sewers, the god of the sewers, said like one of the most fun segments and like a huge rebound after VHS viral, like coming back in a
Yeah.
really strong way. You kind of needed something. And also like the first segment ever done by a woman as well in any of the VHS movies as well. I think it was not Chloe O'Connor, but I'm trying to remember who did it now.
No, it
But
is
it
Chloe
is?
Okuno.
Okay, it is
Hmm.
Chloe O'Connor. Okay. Then we had Ozzy's Dungeon. And we've talked a lot about that segment because I think you have the God living in that. It's just so much fun in that segment.
Mm-hmm.
Just from the fact that you have like the woman that guards it, like living in the warehouse where they host the show. And she just like comes out from the back, like dressed like she does for the show. The leg break in that is like the sickest
Ugh.
thing
Oof.
of all time. And
Yeah.
then just the like, what am I crawling through? What ain't bean dip? It's just like so fucking
Iconic.
sinister. Um, I included Techno God here, and not because it fits the theme, and it's not necessarily a segment I love, but like as Devaughn and I talked about, it nails what it's supposed to do. Like it nails the. And Ari, I'll pose you the same question. Have you ever had to sit through your friend or loved one's one act play? Have you ever had to go through?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How accurate do you feel Techno God nails the discomfort and like the secondhand embarrassment of having to?
I feel like it's amplified in Techno God, just from my personal experience, but in a way that makes it very entertaining. It clearly
Yeah.
is coming from a person who knows what that experience is.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been there. They've been there. They've done that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've bought the book. So Techno God is included here as well. And then this is the first one to have Safe Haven in here, which is a little surprise. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
Safe Haven is included. Usually, that one I think is at the top of everybody's list of best segments. And again, this isn't necessarily about what's best. I know Devaughn, you're like, it's mid. It's not that great. Um,
I did not. You did not. Do not put those words in my mouth. It is on the record. I like it. It's just not my all-time favorite, as
sure.
it is for most people. Like I
Right.
do get that. I just yeah. I couldn't really think of a theme that I was gonna fit that
Mhm.
one into. So
Yeah.
that's the only reason. It just like didn't end up on either of my tapes.
So Safe Haven, it nails like the cult aspect of it, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the creepiest parts aren't necessarily when the monster is revealed, but everything leading up to it. When you have like all the cult members in the and it evokes
Yeah.
memories of like Jonestown, but like when they all like commit complete mass suicide. Like that is one
Mm-hmm.
of the creepiest images in the movie. When they rush at the young woman, like the camera woman or the newswoman, and then like drag her off. Like some of those images are like so visceral and so creepy.
Mm-hmm.
It's you cannot deny their power.
A
And then
grown man drinking milk.
yeah, that's true. And I think
Terrifying.
we said like if you're sitting across from an adult man and he's drinking milk, like just get up and
Just know where your
leave.
exits are. Just like that's
Yeah.
it. Just be aware of the exits.
And I'm someone who likes milk. Like I enjoy a good glass of milk, but I know to like confine that within the walls of my own
That's a
home. And
private. It's a
yeah,
private matter.
it really is. It's one of those things that you should only do in the privacy of your own home. Like you do not as an adult. Like once you hit your teenage years, you don't drink milk in public spaces anymore. It's just you don't.
It's too
And
intimate.
and then the end with like the godlike demon when it's like
Yeah.
daddy at the end
Yeah.
is like such a great little denouement. And then we're ending things with To Hell and Back from the crew
Yeah.
from Deadstream, which is like we talked about that one. It's a lot of fun.
It's
We're
fun.
ending on a high note. It's silly, it's goofy. There are a lot of laughs. You could almost put this one in The Boys Have Adventure as well. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they do like a really good job of creating like a very cool visual element to hell in like a very short segment on a very low budget. The performances are fantastic all around.
Mm-hmm.
So like To Hell and Back would be how I would end VHS. The gods must be crazy. And then my last one. Oh,
Nice.
what do you got?
Good pick, Mike. Yeah.
What do you got there, Devaughn? You were going to jump in.
I was just saying, a good one. I was trying to get to Helen back on one of my tapes because I really enjoyed that one as well. Like, I was almost gonna put that on my fun and games one of them, kind of, because I love how the whole inception of that is they're like, hey, we're gonna take this job filming a cult. Is it real or not? I don't know. I guess we're gonna see.
Yeah.
Is very funny.
Yeah, and then it has the end where he writes Mabel's name in the book. Gotta love
Yeah.
Mabel. What a
Shout out
strong
Mabel the
woman.
Skull Biter. We love her.
Yeah.
Hail
Mabel was
Mabel.
amazing. And Mabel, Mabel was the face that ran the place down in hell. Like, she knew what she was doing. She got them where she needed to go. And it was only through those dudes' own incompetence that she got killed at the end. Like, if they just, kept their shit together, she'd still be running that place.
Well, she's back. She got brought back in the end. She's the one that gets brought back into the body,
That's
not
true.
not the other demon.
No, it's his friend that gets brought back in the body.
Oh yeah, but she gets back. But but that's the reason they wrote her in the book. She's still eternal because she's in the book
Yes.
now.
Yeah. I think if you watch all the way to the closing end of the credits, like they're redoing the ritual and like they're saying her name. So
That's what it
you're
was. Yes. So she's coming back. She's about to get a body.
yeah. So the last movie I created was VHS Wiremen. So because
Okay.
and this was like one where we could do it as like a double feature. Like there are a lot to choose from in this one. So tape 49 was my wraparound segment with Larry, the private detective, because
Mm-hmm.
he's just out there like filming topless women and filming naked dudes and peering in windows and like watching these creepy tapes. And like, I think we all decided like Larry, the private detective, was like a world class creep. And he was like, hey, I've got the evidence that I'm supposed to turn into my client, but I'm going to bribe the guy, and for double the money, I'll give it to you. So he's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
real shitbag.
Scumbag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like not a good man. Um, Amateur Night from David Bruckner was how I would open things up. And
Yes.
I think it says a lot about the first VHS movie that like the dudes in this one were like, well, at least they drew a line somewhere about where they would commit assault, because there's that scene where like, hey, she's asleep, leave her alone. We're like, okay, they're not like the worst people in the world, and it's only because everyone else in almost every other segment but the last one are so terrible that you're like, okay, these guys, there are levels, but these guys are pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there basically to not, I don't know if it would qualify as revenge porn, but they're out there to like film themselves having sex with women that have no idea that they're being filmed because these cameras are like hidden in the glasses. And it's super creepy, it's super rapey, and then you have like the amazing performance from Hannah Fierman, who feels that attraction to at least one of the men and kind of owns her sexuality and is into it. And then when she's rejected, and then also like when one of the guys comes on to her when she's not into him, like just rips them to shreds, and it's really fucking awesome. It's really creepy. It's a great way to start out the series, and I think that was why, that's one of the segments that went on to become like a feature movie called Siren, with Hannah Fierman like reprising her role as the succubus in that. Parallel Monsters was the next one I put in
Mm.
from
Mm-hmm.
Nacho Vigalondo.
I like that one.
I like that one too. I
It's
actually
weird, but I like it.
Yeah, I found my review of VHS Viral from like 10 years ago. Like, I think we said when we recorded it, like, I had not watched this movie. I actually saw it in theaters at Fantastic Fest and just memory hold it. And I read my review. I'm like, I actually really like this. And I think it speaks to like being in a crowd at a festival. But this one I put in because it's like the guys decide, like, let's pull a fast one on our wives, and
Yeah.
you go this way, I'll go this way. And obviously it goes very poorly for them. I love the end where her basically she's able to decapitate her husband with her vagina, which is kind of amazing because like he commits assault on her. But it speaks to like betraying your partner's trust.
Mm-hmm.
right? It's in also like how you have you go into that other world and you have no idea that your like wife is in this world like a swinger that is also into demonic witchcraft, and you're like, whoop, wasn't expecting that. Like that's a pretty cool little twist.
I
So
think
dug that one.
it's a good reminder too that like if your partner has a hobby that you don't know much about, just poke your head in every now and then and go, "What are you working on, babe?
Check in.
What's
Yeah,
this do? What's that?
like
You going to parallel worlds? What are you doing?"
yeah, like at one point Claire's hobby was to watch a lot of like true crime procedurals and also like check on life insurance rates.
Oh
Like,
God.
and she would combine them, and that
You
is
got to poke your head in on
scary.
that once.
So you got to check it every now and then, and check the brake lines and things like that. And then the last two I put in there, which we've talked about a bit, the sick thing that happened to Emily when she was
Mm-hmm.
younger, and terror for different reasons. One being like betraying your partner and the trust there, and the violation, the loss of Emily's like body autonomy, and how like her partner like violates that trust repeatedly on her, and
Mm-hmm.
then does it, as you see at the end, over and over with multiple women, and how creepy that is. And then the terror for like all the reasons like Devaughn talked about earlier. So Why Are Men would be my third VHS collection of movies.
Well, you could do a double feature with your Adventures with the Boys and call it
Yeah.
Boys to Men.
Oh my God.
Oh, I love
Don't
it.
sully their great name.
Is it a great? Yeah, I guess it's a great
I
name.
fucking love Boys to Men. It's my
Oh, Boys to
favorite.
Men's amazing. Yes.
I got to meet them once and I was like, "Oh, I have to think of something good to say." I did not. I did
Oh,
not.
you just face planted.
Well,
Just
I said something like, "I love you." And then Wanya was like, "Oh, we love you too, baby." And then I died.
oh,
So, anyway, that was a
ew.
sidebar.
Well, this episode has come to the end of the road, and you. Yes.
It's so hard to say goodbye to
Oh, still got
yesterday.
it. Excellent.
Um I'm really impressed with how little overlap we had actually. We did
Yeah.
6 different movies with very little overlap and still so many segments we didn't use
Yeah.
at all, which just
Hmm.
speaks to the vast amount of stuff there is
Yeah.
to work with.
Yeah. It's a fun series. Any final thoughts before we sign off? Any final thoughts on VHS? We're going to say goodbye to this one for a couple months and then most likely return to it after it becomes after VHS Beyond becomes available on Shutter
Mhm.
this Halloween season.
Yeah, I got no final thoughts because I mean it's not final for too long. So
It's true.
yeah, this is a very fun franchise, and I thought this was a fun little twist on our usual ranking episodes. This was nice.
Yeah, this was an
So,
awesome idea.
yeah.
I'm excited for another one. Give me a VHS movie every year. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's a fun little Halloween tradition. I'm
Mhm.
sure the new one will debut at Fantastic Fest. Like that tends to be the formula where it debuts at Fantastic Fest in September, and then like a few weeks later is available on Shutter. So I'll hopefully get to see it when I'm out there in Austin in a couple months. So I'm pretty
I'll be
excited for
jealous
that.
sulking at home.
I mean,
But we'll
yeah,
be
I got fingers crossed they'll show it at Beyond Fest, and I'll be able to see it on the big screen. That'd be nice.
but we'll be together at Telluride a couple
Hell
weeks after
yeah.
that. So should be interesting. All right, Ari, do you want to tell us what you have going on, and to also like tell us about this very special series that we're going to be putting on the Patreon for our listeners as well?
Yes, absolutely. So, listeners, if you subscribe to the Pod and the Pendulum Patreon for $2 a month, you will have access to a series I am doing in the next few months covering the I Spit on Your Grave films. So, we're starting with an intro to the subgenre with Vanna Taylor, who's an expert in rape revenge films. And then we'll be going through, there are 5 movies. We'll be going through them one by one. I've got some really good guests lined up. We just recorded our episode on the original movie the other day, and discussion was incredible, if I do say so myself. So Not a lot of pods are covering the sequels and the remake and that. So if you want those movies to have some attention, sign up to the Patreon. Um,
Absolutely.
and then you can also pre-order my book if you want to. Millennial Nasty is all about 2000s horror. You can find that on all my socials at Ari_Hellraiser.
Excellent. Devaughn, you are in the middle of Alien Month over at Spectre Cinema Club, right? What are you cooking up?
Yes, so for August, leading up to Alien Romulus, we are covering the Alien franchise in a kind of double feature fashion. And going into this, I had only seen the original. So these series are first time watches, fresh thoughts on a lot of them.
Nice.
And so far, I don't even know if this is the series that I want new listeners to join in on my podcast, because you might not like some of my thoughts on Aliens. But you should go check us out anyways. New episodes every Tuesday, me and my boy Garrett McDowell. And then you can also hear me on Disenfranchised coming up with Palm Pendulum co-host Stephen Foxworthy talking Hancock. And some alternative superhero movie stuff. So that is a fun conversation. So I'll be on the lookout for that as well. And you
So,
can find me at all the usual places at _Daddy Disco.
so you just posted a very controversial statement about your second favorite movie in the Alien franchise. Can I reveal what you said? I mean,
Oh, of
it's
course you can.
you have Alien Resurrection as your second favorite Alien movie out of the first four so far,
Yes.
which it's just a bold statement, like a very bold statement.
Look, Alien Resurrection, don't listen, is not terrible, okay? It
It's
is
not
not
terrible.
it is so far from it. And if you like the lighter fare, because I'm learning that the Alien movies are a lot more serious than I anticipated them being. If you like the lighter fare, I think Resurrection, it's a good time. It's got a lot of sauce on it, and so it's not bad. It's just a different flavor, you know.
So do you have Alien as your top choice so far? And
Yeah,
then,
of the first
okay,
four, of course.
it's going to get a little nervous there that you're going to have like the original Alien below Resurrection. And I probably would just die at that point.
No, but Aliens is underneath that. I was not a fan actually.
Wow.
Yeah,
I,
I'm
I
as shocked
had,
as you are, Mike.
I have, when we did our rankings, I had Prometheus above Aliens, which I know is very controversial, but I love Prometheus. And I had Alien 3's director's cut above Aliens. I'm not as high on Aliens as most either.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so I'm kind of there with you. And I think Alien is just like the Xenomorph is the perfect organism. I think Alien is the perfect movie. I fucking love that movie so much. Speaking of which, so here's what we have coming up. So this episode is live this week, obviously. Next week, we're going to have 2 to 3 miniature episodes. They'll be like 30 to 35 minutes each, and they'll probably be solo pods where it's just me, just kind of doing reviews from Fantasia. I was able to get access to like the remote library and was able to watch like about a dozen movies, and I'm going to try to review a lot of those for the pod. Just some stuff to be on the lookout for. Like there's some really fun titles that were coming out of there this year, and some titles like the new Baby Assassins. There's a Chainsaws Were Singing, which is like if Monty Python made Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a musical.
Goodness.
There are some like really fun movies coming as a Mexican horror movie called Parvalos, which was really well done. So you'll get my thoughts on those as like a mini episode and give our co-hosts like a week off. We have The Fly coming up as our next franchise, but Alien, in terms of how the schedule works, it looks like Alien Romulus hits right in between when we should start The Fly and when Romulus comes out. So I think we'll get that episode up before The Fly starts in earnest, and that should carry us through September until we get to October when we're doing what, Ariel?
Oh, we're going to get terrified because we're doing Terrifier.
Yes, all three Terrifier movies, including the new third movie. Art the Clown for all of our listeners to carry us this Halloween season. So that should be pretty exciting. In the meantime, please rate, review, and subscribe to our show everywhere you get your podcast. Find us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on YouTube Podcasts, all of that fun stuff. Become a patron today for as low as $2, and you get access to about 60 plus hours worth of bonus material by going to patreon.com/pod in the pendulum. That goes a long way to letting us purchase the movies, use the web host, pay for all the recordings, all of that fun stuff to keep the lights on to do this show. So you allow us to keep the show running, but you also get 2.5 hours on long legs, couple hours on I Saw the TV Glow. You have like bonus episode after bonus episode. And you look like Ariel mentioned, we have like, and I just got the chance to listen to her first episode. Like it's a wonderful overview on the rape review subgenre, done in a way that is like super respectful and educational and informative and a really fun listen. And you're only going to have access to that if you become a patron right now by going to patreon.com/podinthependulum. So become a patron today. What's holding you back? Less than a cup of coffee a month. And that's it. It's a super kind of fun, brief little episode this week. Devaughn, Ariel, thank you so much for jumping in. We got some fun stuff coming up, and we'll be back with some Fantasia coverage next week. Take care, y'all.